Welcome to Historical Legacies. Here, we dive into history's most intriguing stories, unraveling mysteries, and uncovering truths from the past. Subscribe to join our journey through time's greatest moments. Royal Sacrifice: the true price of Diana's legacy. Princess Diana's life was a study in contrasts, a fairy tale that masked a deeply human story of pain, resilience, and transformation. From the grandeur of royal weddings to the quiet despair behind palace walls, her journey unveiled the cost of living under the public gaze. This documentary seeks to explore how Diana's choices, struggles, and legacy profoundly shaped both the monarchy and the modern world's perception of royalty. Part 1. The Shy Girl: Diana's Early Life and Family Legacy. Diana Frances Spencer was born on July 1, 1961, into a family steeped in aristocratic heritage, with deep ties to British royalty. Her father, John Spencer, held the title of the 8th Earl Spencer, a position that carried both prestige and responsibility. Diana's mother, Frances Roche, came from a background that tied her family closely to the royal court, ensuring that Diana was raised in an environment of privilege, albeit one shadowed by internal family conflict. Diana's early years were spent at Park House, an estate located on the Queen's Sandringham property in Norfolk, where the young Diana grew up in proximity to royalty. Yet, despite her title, Diana's childhood was not without its difficulties. In 1969, when Diana was just 8 years old, her parents' marriage crumbled in a bitter divorce that would become a defining moment in her early life. The legal battle for custody was fierce and public, and it left an indelible mark on Diana, who struggled to reconcile the collapse of her family unit. Diana was ultimately placed in her father's care, with her mother retreating to Scotland, resulting in a fractured relationship with Frances. This early exposure to heartbreak and upheaval shaped Diana's emotional landscape, fostering in her a deep sense of empathy and vulnerability. As Diana grew, so did the complexity of her emotional life. At Riddlesworth Hall and Westheath Girls' School, where she received her education, Diana was described as shy and withdrawn, often struggling to find her place among the other students. She was not academically inclined, but her gentle nature and charisma made her popular in social settings. Diana excelled in physical activities like swimming and ballet, where her grace and sensitivity shone through, revealing a different side of the young woman who would later capture the public's heart. Diana's love for the arts was clear, but her deeper calling seemed to be in nurturing others, a trait that would become evident as she began to explore her life beyond the classroom. At 18, Diana moved to London, seeking independence from the confines of her aristocratic background. She shared an apartment with friends and worked as a kindergarten assistant, gaining first-hand experience in the world outside the royal spotlight. Her natural ability to connect with others, especially children, became apparent during these formative years as she formed lasting bonds with those around her. Though still shy and somewhat uncertain, Diana's compassion was becoming increasingly clear, and she was drawn to roles where she could make a positive difference. During this time, Diana's path crossed with Prince Charles, the heir to the British throne. Their meeting in 1977 set the stage for a life that would become a whirlwind of fame, love, and ultimately heartache. Diana, still the shy and quiet girl from a fractured family, could hardly have known that her chance encounter with the prince would lead her to a life under the unrelenting scrutiny of the world's media. Diana's aristocratic background, while privileged, did not protect her from the emotional challenges that marked her youth. She navigated her early years with a quiet strength, learning the hard lessons of family dissolution and personal vulnerability. These formative experiences would later influence her approach to public life, her charity work, and the way she engaged with the world around her. Diana's early life laid the foundation for a woman who, despite her royal status, remained deeply connected to the struggles and emotions of ordinary people. Part 2. A Royal Proposal: the engagement that captured the world. The meeting between Lady Diana Spencer and Prince Charles in 1977 was seemingly innocent at first, a chance encounter that would change the course of history. Diana, then only 16, was introduced to Charles during a visit to his family's estate, Althorpe, where she was invited as part of her connection to the royal family. Despite their considerable age gap, Charles was 12 years older than Diana. Their interaction was polite, but not particularly memorable at the time. Yet fate had already set in motion a complex relationship that would culminate in one of the most famous engagements in royal history. By the time their relationship became more publicly known in 1980, Diana had transformed from a quiet young woman into a highly sought-after figure, with the media eagerly following her every move. Prince Charles, in turn, began to realize that Diana was someone unlike any of the women he had previously dated. Her down-to-earth nature, her charm, and her ability to navigate social settings with grace were qualities that seemed to captivate him. She was, in many ways, the antithesis of the women he had been involved with before. No royal bloodline, no extensive political connections, just a warm and natural disposition that stood out in the royal circles. On February 6, 1981, after months of speculation and rumors, Prince Charles proposed to Diana in a private moment at Buckingham Palace, using a striking 12-carat sapphire and diamond engagement ring. The proposal was both intimate and deeply significant, as it represented not only Charles's love for Diana, but also his desire to fulfill his royal duties and establish an heir to the throne. In the eyes of the British public and the world, the engagement seemed like the perfect fairy tale. A young woman, raised in aristocracy, marrying the future king. Diana's acceptance of the proposal was met with widespread excitement, but the pressure placed on her was also immediate and intense. As the media began to frenzy over the announcement, Diana became the subject of a public obsession that would only grow stronger as her life became ever more intertwined with monarchy. Her every move was now scrutinized, and with each photograph, her transition from a private individual to a royal figure was becoming more apparent. The engagement was not just a union of two people. It was the beginning of a transformation that would see Diana become an international symbol of grace, beauty, and royal duty. While the couple's engagement was celebrated by the public, the reality of life within the royal family was something that Diana would have to quickly adjust to. Diana, who'd spent her youth navigating the complexities of her own family's turmoil, now found herself in a similarly complicated environment where tradition and duty dictated much of the royal agenda. The pressure to perform her royal duties while maintaining a public image of perfection was overwhelming, and it soon became clear that the fairy tale image was more complicated than it appeared. Diana's engagement to Prince Charles catapulted her into the spotlight, but it also signaled the beginning of a life where personal desires would often clash with royal expectations. Her decision to marry into the monarchy was, in many ways, a sacrifice, a commitment to the institution of the royal family, but one that came with the deep cost of personal freedom. Diana's engagement and subsequent wedding to Charles were the first steps on a journey that would see her struggle with the intense pressures of royal life, ultimately leading her to carve out a legacy defined by her compassion, resilience, and the sacrifices she made along the way. Part 3. The Wedding of a Century, Spectacle and Expectations. On July 29, 1981, the world watched as Lady Diana Spencer became Princess Diana of Wales in what would become one of the most televised events in history. The wedding ceremony, held at St. Paul's Cathedral in London, was nothing short of a spectacle, grand, regal, and thoroughly captivating to millions around the globe. The church, adorned with elaborate flowers and banners, was filled with dignitaries, royalty, and heads of state from across the world, all witnessing the union of the future king's son with the shy young woman who had captured the public's imagination. As the bride made her way down the aisle, the crowd in the cathedral and the millions watching on television were mesmerized by her grace, beauty, and the fairy tale image that seemed to be unfolding before their eyes. Diana's wedding dress was an essential part of the narrative, a stunning creation designed by David and Elizabeth Emanuel. The gown, made of silk taffeta and lace, had a 25-foot train, making it one of the longest in history. The dress was symbolic of the royal family status, yet Diana's simplicity and elegance were evident in every detail. Her choice of dress and its effect on the public demonstrated her delicate balance between tradition and her own unique personality, maintaining the grandeur expected of a royal wedding while also reflecting her own sense of style and individuality. The entire wedding was filled with elements that spoke to both Diana's personal touch and the profound responsibility that came with marrying into the royal family. The ceremony itself was a pageant of tradition, with Diana and Charles pledging their vows in front of a massive congregation, both in person and on television. As the couple exchanged their vows, the world collectively held its breath, wondering if the union would prove to be as perfect as it appeared from the outside. For Diana, the event marked the pinnacle of her journey from a young girl of aristocratic lineage to a globally recognized figure, now bound to the royal family by a vow that would change her life forever. Yet, while the public celebrated the union, there were signs that Diana's understanding of what royal life would entail was still developing. Behind the scenes, the marriage was already showing signs of strain, as Diana struggled with the intense pressures of being in the spotlight and fulfilling the royal expectations placed upon her. The glittering spectacle of the wedding masked the challenges ahead, ones that Diana could hardly have anticipated. For Charles, the event marked a public confirmation of his royal duties, but for Diana, it was the beginning of a journey that would be fraught with personal sacrifices and emotional challenges. The constant scrutiny, both from the media and the royal family, would soon take its toll on the young princess, who was still learning how to navigate the complexities of her new life. The wedding of Diana and Charles was not just a personal milestone, it was a defining moment in royal history. The media frenzy surrounding the event set the stage for the constant attention that Diana would face throughout her marriage. As the couple made their way through the post-wedding celebrations, the world's expectations of Diana began to solidify. She was no longer just the young woman from Norfolk. She was now the Princess of Wales, a symbol of monarchy and a figurehead for the nation. Diana's wedding was a fairy tale in many respects, a moment of public joy and celebration. But the reality of life within the royal family would soon challenge the dreams that many had attached to the event. The pressures of being constantly under scrutiny, balancing royal duties, and dealing with her own personal struggles would soon overshadow the romance of the wedding day. Diana's life as a royal had just begun, and what followed would reveal the true cost of marrying into the monarchy, a price that Diana would pay for years to come. Part 4. Life in the Palace. Adjusting to royal duties and pressures. When Diana married Prince Charles in 1981, she was not only stepping into a marriage, but also assuming a role in an institution that carried centuries of history, expectation, and duty. The grandeur of life at Buckingham Palace, with its regal rooms and traditions, was a far cry from the quiet family life Diana had known growing up. As the Princess of Wales, Diana was thrust into the royal spotlight, a place where her every move was scrutinized, and her every word dissected by the press and the public. Her days became a blur of formal events, charity functions, and royal engagements, each of which required her to navigate complex social dynamics and uphold the values of the British monarchy. At first, Diana struggled to adjust to the rigid structure of royal life, where tradition and duty took precedence over personal desires and autonomy. The royal family's expectations were immense, and Diana, though she was used to the pressures of public life, soon realized that her role as a princess was not one she could easily escape from. Every public appearance required her to maintain a poised and impeccable image, and any deviation from this expectation was seen as a misstep in the eyes of the media and the public. Even her wardrobe, meticulously chosen to reflect royal decorum, became a focal point of attention, as every outfit was analyzed and critiqued. The weight of her new position began to affect Diana in ways she hadn't anticipated. While she had always been a compassionate and empathetic person, she soon found herself overwhelmed by the demands of royal engagements and the constant scrutiny of the media. Her duties as Princess of Wales involved frequent travel, charitable work, and public appearances, all of which required her to uphold the royal image while sacrificing much of her own privacy and personal time. The constant attention, combined with the pressure to maintain a perfect image, began to take a toll on Diana's mental health, and she found herself struggling to cope with the emotional strain. Despite her growing difficulties, Diana continued to fulfill her royal duties, attending countless events and representing the monarchy at various state occasions. Her ability to connect with the public became one of her greatest strengths, as people were drawn to her warmth, relatability, and the authenticity that she brought to her royal role. She was particularly effective in engaging with children, and her charitable work soon became one of her most defining traits. Her work with organizations such as the British Red Cross, the National AIDS Trust, and the Centrepoint Homelessness Charity allowed Diana to focus on causes that were close to her heart, helping those who were marginalized and in need. However, as Diana embraced these causes, her own personal struggles grew more pronounced. The intense pressure to live up to royal expectations, combined with the strain of her marital difficulties, left her feeling isolated and uncertain about her role within the royal family. The public persona of the happy princess, which she had worked hard to cultivate, began to clash with the reality of her private life, and the contrast between the two became increasingly difficult to reconcile. Life in the palace was a far cry from the independence and freedom Diana had known before her marriage. The grandeur and history of Buckingham Palace were tempered by the demands of royal life, leaving Diana with little room to explore her personal desires or seek solace from the pressures that mounted with each passing day. Her early years as a royal were marked by a series of sacrifices, both personal and emotional, that would shape the trajectory of her life and legacy. The royal duties that came with her title were not simply ceremonial. They were an intrinsic part of Diana's new reality. She was expected to be a figurehead, a mother, a wife, and a symbol of hope for the people of Britain and the world. The weight of these expectations continued to weigh heavily on her, and as the years passed, Diana's internal struggles became harder to hide. Despite the lavish surroundings and her high-profile public appearances, life within the palace walls was a constant battle between duty, personal sacrifice, and intense scrutiny of a media that refused to let her escape from the public eye. Part 5. The Birth of Princes. A mother's dedication in a royal world. Diana's journey into motherhood began shortly after her marriage to Prince Charles, marking a pivotal shift in her life as a member of the royal family. With her pregnancy announced just months after their wedding, the couple's firstborn, William Arthur Philip Louis, arrived on June 21, 1982. The birth of Prince William was not only a moment of joy for Diana and Charles, but also a moment of immense public interest, as the British public eagerly awaited the arrival of the future heir to the throne. As the firstborn son of Prince Charles, William was bound by the weight of royal expectations, and Diana understood the responsibility that came with being the mother of a potential king. Yet, despite the grandeur surrounding William's birth, Diana's approach to motherhood was deeply personal and rooted in her own desire to provide a loving and nurturing environment for her children. Unlike the often distant and formal approach of royal mothers before her, Diana was determined to be a hands-on and affectionate mother, a decision that set her apart from other members of the royal family. Her connection with William was immediate and profound, and she made it her priority to ensure that he felt loved and secure at all times. Diana would often speak of her desire to spend as much time as possible with her children, something that was not always easy given her royal obligations. But even amidst her busy schedule, Diana's love for William and later for Harry remained unwavering, and she would often be seen doting on them during royal engagements. When Prince Harry was born on September 15, 1984, Diana's approach to motherhood deepened even further. While the public focus was still largely on Prince William, Diana's bond with Harry grew strong, and she treated both of her sons as individuals with their own personalities and needs. As a mother, Diana sought to shield her children from the pressures and expectations that came with their royal status, aiming to provide them with a semblance of normalcy despite the extraordinary circumstances of their lives. The contrast between Diana's hands-on, loving approach to motherhood and the more formal parenting style traditionally upheld by the royal family was striking, and it reflected her desire to break free from the rigid constraints of royal tradition. However, balancing her royal duties with her responsibilities as a mother was a constant challenge. Diana often expressed feelings of guilt over the time she had to spend away from her children due to her public commitments. She was keenly aware that her role as Princess of Wales required her to maintain a high profile, but she struggled with the fact that her children were often left in the care of nannies and other royal staff while she fulfilled her royal obligations. Despite this, Diana sought to make the time she spent with William and Harry as meaningful as possible, ensuring that her presence in their lives was felt even during the most hectic times. Diana's dedication to her children was reflected in her parenting choices. She took an active role in their schooling, frequently visiting their classrooms and attending parent-teacher meetings, something that was quite rare for a royal mother. She also took them on outings away from the royal spotlight, allowing them to experience life outside the confines of their royal duties. Diana's influence on William and Harry was profound, shaping them into the compassionate and grounded individuals they would become. Both of her sons often spoke of her as a guiding force in their lives, and Diana's love and attention would remain a core part of their upbringing. Though the pressures of royal life continued to mount, Diana's love for her children remained her most cherished priority. She constantly strove to provide them with a childhood that was as normal as possible given the circumstances, offering them the emotional support and warmth that had been so lacking in her own early life. Diana's legacy as a mother, nurturing, affectionate, and deeply connected to her children, would become one of the most enduring aspects of her life, and her role as a mother continued to shape her decisions and actions throughout her public career. As Diana navigated the complexities of royal motherhood, she became a symbol of modern, progressive parenting within the monarchy, blending royal duties with a personal commitment to her children's well-being. Her efforts to balance the demands of being a royal mother with the desires to raise her children with love and care would have lasting effects, not only on William and Harry, but also on the monarchy itself. Part 6. Cracks in the Facade. Strains on Diana and Charles's Marriage. By the mid-1980s, the marriage between Diana and Charles, once heralded as a romantic fairy tale, began to reveal the fractures that had been simmering beneath the surface. Though the couple appeared united in public, there were growing tensions behind closed doors, with Diana and Charles increasingly pulling in different directions. From the outset, Diana had been thrust into a life she hadn't fully anticipated, with her every move scrutinized by the press and the public. The weight of royal expectations, combined with the pressures of her marriage, made it increasingly difficult for Diana to cope with the emotional strain. Charles, who had been deeply in love with Diana at the time of their engagement, was still emotionally entangled with Camilla Parker Bowles, a woman he had been involved with prior to marrying Diana. Despite his public commitment to Diana, Charles's ongoing connection to Camilla cast a long shadow over their relationship. Diana was fully aware of the closeness between her husband and Camilla, and this emotional neglect caused immense distress, leaving her feeling increasingly isolated and rejected. Charles's continued fondness for Camilla led to further emotional separation between him and Diana, and the cracks in their marriage grew wider with time. While Diana's public persona as the perfect princess remained intact, her private struggles became more pronounced as the emotional toll of her marriage deepened. She felt trapped in a marriage that, despite its outward appearance, was increasingly marked by a lack of trust and intimacy. Her desire for a loving and supportive partner clashed with the reality of a relationship where her needs were often sidelined, and Charles's preoccupation with his past love became a constant source of pain. Despite the facade of a happy couple, the truth was far more complicated, and Diana soon found herself questioning her place in the royal family and in her marriage. Diana sought solace in her growing public popularity and charitable work, which allowed her focus on causes she cared deeply about. Her role as a compassionate, empathetic figure resonated with the public, and she began to form strong connections with those she helped. However, while her public life seemed to flourish, her personal life was unraveling, and Diana's mental health began to deteriorate. The stress of marriage, combined with the relentless media scrutiny, caused her to develop eating disorders, particularly bulimia, as a way of coping with the overwhelming pressure. Her struggles were hidden from the public eye, but they were a direct result of the emotional neglect and personal turmoil she was experiencing. While Diana's relationship with Charles became more strained, she also struggled with the constant surveillance of the press. Every aspect of her life was dissected and analyzed, from her wardrobe to her interactions with her husband and children. The media's relentless pursuit of information about her private life only deepened her sense of isolation, and she became more withdrawn from public appearances. The weight of both her marriage and her status as the Princess of Wales became increasingly unbearable, and her personal battles were compounded by the constant attention of the paparazzi. Charles and Diana's relationship was not just affected by external pressures, but also by internal conflicts, particularly the differences in their personalities and expectations of their roles. Diana, who had a deep desire to be loved and valued as an individual, found it increasingly difficult to reconcile her own needs with the royal expectations placed upon her. She felt suffocated by the rigid traditions and the sense of duty that came with her title, while Charles, who had been groomed for a life of public service and royal responsibility, remained emotionally distant. As the years passed, the rift between Diana and Charles deepened, and their marriage became more of a formality than a partnership. The couple continued to fulfill their royal duties, but the personal bond that had once united them was gone. Diana began to seek greater independence, and the idea of separation, though taboo within the royal family, began to surface as a possibility. The emotional toll of her marriage had become too great, and Diana's desire for happiness and fulfillment grew stronger, even if it meant challenging the very institution that had defined her life. Despite the pain and heartache of their strained marriage, Diana remained committed to her role as a mother and a public figure. She continued to put on a brave face for her children, William and Harry, and for the public. But behind the scenes, the cracks in her marriage were widening, and it seemed increasingly likely that the fairy tale ending would remain elusive. Part 7. The Lonely Princess. Isolation behind the glamorous image. Behind the glittering tiaras, grand palaces, and public adoration, Diana's life as a princess was marked by profound loneliness. While the world admired her grace and elegance, few realized the immense isolation she felt within the rigid confines of royal life. From the early days of her marriage, Diana struggled to adjust to the expectations placed upon her, finding herself increasingly distanced from the life she had once imagined. As the pressures of her royal role mounted, so too did her feelings of alienation, leaving her to grapple with a sense of invisibility in a life lived under constant scrutiny. Diana entered the royal family as a 20-year-old, with little preparation for the complexities of royal duties and the relentless media spotlight. Her transition from a relatively private life to one dominated by public expectations was swift and overwhelming. Though she initially embraced her role with enthusiasm, Diana soon realized that the royal family's traditions and expectations left little room for individuality or emotional expression. She was expected to adhere to strict protocols, maintain an impeccable public image, and suppress her personal struggles, all of which contributed to her growing sense of isolation. Her relationship with Charles, which had begun with the promise of love and companionship, became another source of loneliness. As their marriage began to unravel, Diana found herself increasingly sidelined in her husband's life. Charles's close relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles only deepened Diana's feelings of rejection, and she often felt emotionally abandoned within her own home. Despite her efforts to connect with Charles, the emotional distance between them grew, leaving Diana to navigate her royal duties largely on her own. Adding to her isolation was the lack of support within the royal family. Diana often felt that her struggles were dismissed or minimized by those around her, as the monarchy prioritized maintaining its public image over addressing personal challenges. The royal household, steeped in centuries-old traditions, had little room for emotional vulnerability, leaving Diana with few allies or confidants. Her efforts to voice her concerns were met with resistance, and she quickly learned that expressing her emotions was seen as a breach of royal decorum. The constant presence of the media only compounded Diana's loneliness. While she was adored by the public, the relentless scrutiny of the press turned her life into a spectacle. Photographers followed her every move, capturing not only her triumphs, but also her moments of vulnerability. The pressure to appear perfect in front of the cameras added to her sense of isolation, as Diana felt increasingly disconnected from her true self. Behind the glamorous image of the Princess of Wales was a woman who yearned for authenticity and connection, yet found herself trapped in a role that demanded perfection at all costs. Despite her struggles, Diana's resilience began to shine through as she sought ways to cope with her loneliness. She turned to her charitable work as a source of fulfillment, finding purpose in her efforts to help others. Diana's ability to connect with people from all walks of life gave her a sense of belonging that she often lacked in her personal life. Her compassion and empathy resonated deeply with those she helped, and her work became a vital outlet for her emotional struggles. Diana also sought solace in her role as a mother, drawing strength from her bond with William and Harry. Her children became her greatest source of joy and motivation, providing her with a sense of purpose amidst the challenges of royal life. She was determined to give them the love and emotional support she often felt she lacked, and her hands-on approach to motherhood set her apart from other members of the royal family. In many ways, her relationship with her children became a lifeline, grounding her in moments of doubt and despair. The loneliness Diana experienced as a princess was a defining aspect of her life, shaping her decisions and actions in profound ways. While the public saw her as a beacon of hope and elegance, the reality of her isolation remained largely hidden until later years. Diana's journey was one of resilience and self-discovery, as she sought to find her voice and purpose amidst the constraints of royal life. Her struggles with loneliness highlighted the human cost of living under such intense pressure, and her story became a testament to the strength it took to persevere in the face of overwhelming adversity. Part 8. A Voice of Her Own: Diana's Public Advocacy and Charitable Work. As Diana's personal struggles continued to unfold, she found solace and purpose in her public advocacy and charitable work. Despite the turbulence of her private life, Diana began to redefine her role within the monarchy, shifting her focus to issues that were often neglected by others. Her natural empathy and deep compassion resonated with the public, making her a unique figure within the royal family. Over time, Diana became known as the People's Princess, a title that reflected her ability to connect with people on a deeply personal level. One of Diana's earliest and most impactful contributions was her work with children, particularly those affected by illness or poverty. She visited hospitals, orphanages, and schools, taking the time to speak with children and their families, often kneeling down to their level to make them feel seen and valued. This simple yet powerful gesture became one of Diana's trademarks, showcasing her genuine care and breaking away from a formality typically associated with royalty. Her visits were not just ceremonial, they were moments of connection that left lasting impressions on those she met. Diana's efforts extended beyond the United Kingdom as she began to champion global causes. In the late 1980s, she turned her attention to the HIV/AIDS epidemic, a subject that was highly stigmatized at the time. Her decision to publicly shake hands with an AIDS patient in 1987 was a groundbreaking moment that challenged misconceptions and helped to reduce the stigma surrounding the disease. By demonstrating that compassion and understanding were more important than fear, Diana changed a narrative around HIV/AIDS and brought attention to the need for greater awareness and support. Another major focus of Diana's work was landmine clearance, a cause that she embraced passionately in the final years of her life. In 1997, she visited Angola with the Halo Trust, walking through a live minefield to draw attention to the dangers faced by communities in war-torn regions. Her advocacy played a key role in raising awareness about the devastating impact of landmines, ultimately contributing to the global movement to ban their use. Diana's willingness to take risks for a cause she believed in underscored her commitment to making a tangible difference in the world. Diana's approach to philanthropy was deeply personal, and she often chose causes that aligned with her values and experiences. Her work with homeless shelters, mental health organizations, and leprosy charities highlighted her dedication to helping society's most vulnerable populations. She refused to shy away from uncomfortable or controversial topics, using her platform to amplify the voices of those who were often ignored. In doing so, Diana broke away from the traditional image of a royal figure, becoming a trailblazer in the world of advocacy and humanitarianism. Her charitable work also served as a source of healing for Diana, allowing her to channel her struggles into something meaningful. Through her efforts, she not only helped countless individuals, but also began to reclaim her identity and purpose. The applause and gratitude she received for her work were a stark contrast to the isolation she often felt in her personal life. For Diana, her advocacy became a way to find her voice and redefine her role within the monarchy, even as her marriage and royal duties grew increasingly challenging. Diana's authenticity and relatability were key to her success as a humanitarian. Unlike many public figures, She approached her work with genuine humility and a willingness to engage with people on their terms. Whether it was sitting on the floor with children, comforting a grieving parent, or walking hand in hand with a patient, Diana's actions spoke volumes about her character and values. This relatability endeared her to millions and ensured that her impact extended far beyond her official titles and duties. Her ability to connect with people from all walks of life earned Diana a place in the hearts of millions around the world. Through her work, she redefined what it meant to be a member of the royal family, demonstrating that compassion and empathy could be powerful tools for change. Diana's legacy as a humanitarian continues to inspire, reminding the world of the profound impact that one person's dedication and kindness can have on society. Part 9. The Scandal Breaks. Infidelity, Media Frenzy, and Public Perception. As the 1990s dawned, the cracks in Diana and Charles's marriage became impossible to conceal, spilling into public view and igniting a media frenzy. What had been whispered in private circles for years was now a matter of national and international speculation. The revelations about infidelity, emotional neglect, and the frailty of their union captivated the world, transforming the royal couple's private turmoil into a public spectacle. For Diana, this period marked a turning point as she grappled with the dual challenges of a crumbling marriage and unrelenting scrutiny from the press. The media's role in exposing the fractures in Diana and Charles's relationship was pivotal. Paparazzi followed their every move, dissecting moments of tension, distance, or unhappiness that had once gone unnoticed. Tabloid headlines speculated about the causes of their discord, with Diana and Charles both subjected to intense criticism and judgment. The once idyllic image of their royal romance was now overshadowed by stories of betrayal, jealousy, and competing narratives. For Diana, the constant invasion of her privacy added to her already mounting sense of isolation and despair. The most explosive revelations came in the form of taped conversations that exposed the depth of Charles's relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles. The infamous Camillagate tapes, leaked in 1993, confirmed the rumors that Charles had been emotionally and romantically involved with Camilla throughout his marriage to Diana. This revelation was a devastating blow to Diana, who had long suspected her husband's infidelity, but now faced public confirmation of her fears. Charles's admission of the affair in a televised interview further strained public perceptions of the royal family, casting a shadow over its carefully curated image. In response, Diana began to take steps to reclaim her narrative. Her 1995 interview with journalist Martin Bashir for the BBC program Panorama marked a watershed moment in royal history. Speaking candidly about her struggles with bulimia, her feelings of betrayal, and her own extramarital relationship with James Hewitt, Diana laid bare the complexities of her life behind palace walls. Her now famous line, "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded," became an enduring symbol of the pain and humiliation she had endured. The interview resonated deeply with the public, cementing Diana's status as a figure of empathy and resilience. As Diana sought to redefine her role, public opinion largely shifted in her favor. While some criticized her for breaking royal protocol by speaking so openly about her personal life, many admired her bravery and honesty. Her willingness to share her vulnerabilities endeared her to millions, creating a stark contrast to the stoic and reserved image traditionally associated with the monarchy. Diana became a symbol of strength and independence, a woman who refused to be silenced despite the overwhelming pressures she faced. The media frenzy surrounding the scandal, however, was unrelenting. Paparazzi pursued Diana with unprecedented intensity, eager to capture every moment of her life in the wake of these revelations. Photographs of her appearing emotional or distressed were splashed across front pages, feeding the public's insatiable appetite for details about her personal struggles. For Diana, this constant surveillance was suffocating, amplifying her feelings of vulnerability and making it nearly impossible to find solace or privacy. The scandal also had far-reaching implications for the royal family, challenging its reputation and the public's perception of its members. For centuries, the monarchy had been viewed as a symbol of stability and tradition, but the revelations about Charles and Diana's marriage exposed a more human and fallible side of the institution. While some saw this as a moment of reckoning, others criticized the royal family for its inability to provide support and guidance to its younger members. Despite the pain and humiliation of this period, Diana emerged as a figure of remarkable resilience. She used her experiences to connect with others who had faced similar challenges, reinforcing her role as a symbol of compassion and understanding. Her ability to rise above the scandal, focusing on her humanitarian efforts and personal growth, became a source of inspiration for millions around the world. By the mid-1990s, Diana had begun to chart a new course for herself, one defined not by her role as Charles's wife, but by her own values and aspirations. The scandal, while deeply painful, ultimately became a turning point in Diana's life, allowing her to reclaim her voice and shape her legacy. Her story during this time serves as a testament to the strength and determination of a woman who refused to be defined by the expectations of others, choosing instead to forge her own path. Part 10. Separation and Independence. Navigating a New Life. In December 1992, the official announcement of Diana and Charles's separation marked a seismic shift in royal history. The news, confirmed by then Prime Minister John Major in Parliament, sent shockwaves through the nation and beyond. Though their marital struggles had long been the subject of public speculation, the formal acknowledgement of their separation was a turning point, both for the monarchy and for Diana herself. This chapter of Diana's life would become a story of rediscovery and transformation as she began to navigate a path of independence while still carrying the weight of her royal title. The separation agreement allowed Diana to retain her title as the Princess of Wales and remain a member of the royal family, but her role and responsibilities were significantly altered. She continued to perform some public duties, though on a reduced scale, and focused much of her energy on her charitable work. This transition was both liberating and challenging, as Diana grappled with the complexities of redefining her identity outside the confines of her marriage. While the separation granted her more personal freedom, it also placed her under even greater media scrutiny. One of the most immediate challenges Diana faced was navigating the delicate balance between her public and private lives. The tabloids, which had already fixated on her every move during her marriage, intensified their coverage after the separation. Photographers and journalists followed her relentlessly, eager to capture moments of vulnerability or hints of a new romantic relationship. For Diana, this constant surveillance was both invasive and exhausting, forcing her to find ways to carve out moments of privacy amidst the chaos. Despite these challenges, she remained committed to presenting a poised and graceful image in public, refusing to let the relentless attention overshadow her work or diminish her spirit. The separation also marked the beginning of a more candid and assertive Diana. Free from some of the constraints of royal life, she began to speak more openly about her struggles and aspirations. In interviews and public appearances, Diana shared glimpses of her personal journey, offering a rare and relatable perspective on the challenges of life in the public eye. Her honesty and vulnerability resonated deeply with the public, solidifying her reputation as a figure of strength and resilience. Diana's focus on her humanitarian efforts became a cornerstone of her new life. With fewer royal duties to fulfill, she was able to devote more time and energy to the causes she cared about most. Her work with organizations focused on HIV/AIDS, landmine clearance, and children's welfare gained even greater momentum during this period. Diana's hands-on approach and genuine compassion made her a powerful advocate, inspiring change and raising awareness for issues that were often overlooked or misunderstood. As she embraced her newfound independence, Diana also began to focus on her personal well-being. She sought therapy and counseling to address the emotional toll of her marriage and the pressures of royal life, gradually building a stronger sense of self. Physical fitness became another outlet for Diana, and she developed a passion for exercise, particularly swimming and ballet. These efforts to nurture her mind and body allowed her to reclaim a sense of control and empowerment, providing a foundation for her next chapter. Diana's role as a mother remained central to her life throughout this period. She was deeply committed to providing William and Harry with a sense of stability and normalcy, despite the upheaval of their parents' separation. Diana took an active role in their upbringing, from helping with schoolwork to planning family vacations. Her bond with her sons became a source of strength and joy, offering her a sense of purpose and grounding amidst the challenges of her new reality. Despite the progress she made, the path to independence was not without its difficulties. Diana faced ongoing tensions with the royal family, as well as the challenges of co-parenting with Charles. The continued scrutiny of her personal life by the media was another constant burden, making it difficult for her to fully escape the pressures of her former role. Yet through it all, Diana remained determined to build a life that reflected her values and priorities. Her journey of separation and independence was a testament to her strength and courage as she navigated the complexities of life beyond the palace walls. Through her determination to embrace change and find her own path, Diana emerged as a symbol of hope and inspiration, proving that it was possible to thrive even in the face of adversity. Part 11. The iconic humanitarian. Diana's campaigns for global change. As Diana stepped further into her role as an independent woman, her humanitarian work took center stage, transforming her into a global icon of compassion. While she had always been involved in charity, the years following her separation allowed her to deepen her engagement with causes close to her heart. Free from many royal obligations, Diana had the freedom to focus her efforts on international issues that highlighted her values and the power of advocacy. Her ability to draw attention to critical problems and inspire change on a global scale set her apart as a unique force for good. One of Diana's most impactful contributions was her work to combat the stigma surrounding HIV/AIDS. In the 1980s, misconceptions about the disease led to widespread fear and ostracism, creating immense suffering for those affected. Diana's decision to publicly visit HIV/AIDS patients in hospitals and hospices broke barriers, offering hope and dignity to those society had largely abandoned. Her willingness to shake hands with patients, without gloves, challenged harmful stereotypes and showed the world that empathy and understanding were more powerful than fear. These moments were not just symbolic, but also deeply personal, as Diana connected with individuals, offering comfort and validation. In addition to her efforts in combating HIV/AIDS, Diana championed the cause of landmine clearance, a global issue that disproportionately affected vulnerable populations. Her partnership with organizations like the Halo Trust took her to Angola and Bosnia, where she walked through active minefields to raise awareness of the dangers faced by communities in conflict zones. Diana's visit to Angola in January 1997 was particularly significant, as it highlighted the devastating impact of landmines on civilians, especially children. Images of Diana in protective gear, treading cautiously through a minefield, became iconic symbols of her commitment to humanitarian work. Her efforts ultimately contributed to the global push for the 1997 Ottawa Treaty, which sought to ban the use of landmines worldwide. Diana's approach to humanitarianism was defined by her personal touch and genuine concern for those she sought to help. Unlike many public figures who engaged in philanthropy from a distance, Diana immersed herself in the lives of the people she served. She visited shelters, orphanages, and hospitals, often spending hours speaking with individuals to understand their struggles. Her empathetic nature and ability to connect with people on a human level made her advocacy more than just a public relations exercise. It was a lifeline for many. Beyond her work with HIV/AIDS and landmines, Diana was also deeply involved in supporting causes related to children's welfare, mental health, and homelessness. She worked with organizations such as the British Red Cross and Centrepoint, using her influence to bring attention to critical issues. Diana's efforts to highlight the struggles of society's most vulnerable populations helped shift the narrative around philanthropy, inspiring others to take action. Her legacy in these areas endures, as many of the causes she championed continue to benefit from the awareness she raised. The media played a dual role in Diana's humanitarian efforts. While the press often intruded on her personal life, it also amplified her message, bringing global attention to the issues she cared about. Diana understood the power of imagery and used it to her advantage, allowing cameras to document her visits to hospitals and conflict zones. These images not only inspired compassion, but also put pressure on governments and organizations to act. Diana's ability to navigate the media landscape with purpose and authenticity was a key factor in her success, as a global advocate. However, Diana's humanitarian work was not without challenges. The intensity of her public life often left her emotionally and physically drained, as she juggled her responsibilities with the pressures of fame. Critics sometimes questioned her motivations, accusing her of seeking publicity rather than effecting real change. Yet, Diana remained steadfast in her commitment, focusing on the impact of her work rather than the opinions of her detractors. Her resilience and determination allowed her to rise above the noise, leaving an indelible mark on the world. By the late 1990s, Diana had become more than just a princess. She was a symbol of compassion and hope. Her dedication to humanitarianism redefined what it meant to be a public figure, proving that fame and influence could be used as forces for good. Through her work, Diana reminded the world that even the smallest acts of kindness could have a profound ripple effect, inspiring others to join the fight for a more just and compassionate world. Her legacy as an iconic humanitarian continues to inspire, ensuring that her voice and values live on. Part 12. A Paparazzi-Fueled Life. The Constant Scrutiny of Fame. By the mid-1990s, Diana's life was inextricably tied to the relentless attention of the paparazzi. Her every move became a spectacle as photographers and reporters scrambled to capture even the most mundane details of her life. For Diana, the constant glare of the camera lens was both a source of frustration and a reminder of the price she paid for her fame. What had begun as curiosity surrounding a young royal bride had transformed into an obsession, creating a media frenzy that often bordered on dangerous. The paparazzi's pursuit of Diana escalated after her separation from Charles, as her private life became an increasingly lucrative target for tabloids. Images of Diana with her sons, vacationing on yachts, or shopping in London were sold for astronomical sums, fueling a competitive and often ruthless industry. Diana's personal struggles, from her health to her relationships, were splashed across headlines, leaving little room for privacy. Despite her efforts to shield her life, the sheer intensity of the media's focus left her vulnerable, with every decision scrutinized and debated by the public. One of the most striking aspects of this period was the way the paparazzi shaped public perceptions of Diana. Photographs captured her moments of joy and vulnerability, creating a narrative that was equal parts admiration and intrusion. The press alternated between celebrating her as a fashion icon and humanitarian and criticizing her as a controversial figure seeking attention. These conflicting portrayals added to Diana's struggles as she navigated the delicate balance between engaging with the media and protecting her personal life. Diana often spoke candidly about the challenges of living under such intense scrutiny. In interviews, she described the sense of suffocation she felt, comparing her existence to that of a caged bird. The constant presence of photographers outside her home, at public events, and even during her private moments left her feeling exposed and powerless. This pressure contributed to her mental health struggles as she grappled with anxiety and the weight of public expectations. Despite these challenges, Diana was not without agency in her relationship with the media. She understood the power of the press and used it to her advantage, particularly in promoting her humanitarian causes. By allowing cameras to document her work with HIV/AIDS patients or visits to landmine-affected regions, Diana ensured that critical issues received global attention. Her ability to control the narrative at times highlighted her media savvy, even as she struggled with its invasive aspects. The constant attention also affected Diana's relationships, both romantic and platonic. Her connection with individuals such as Hasnat Khan and Dodi Fayed became the subject of relentless speculation, with the press scrutinizing every detail. Photographs of Diana with her partners were often published without context, leading to widespread rumors and sensationalism. For Diana, the inability to maintain a private romantic life added to her feelings of isolation and frustration, as her attempts at happiness were often overshadowed by external pressures. The paparazzi's pursuit of Diana reached its peak during the final years of her life, as the global fascination with her showed no signs of waning. Even as she tried to carve out a sense of normalcy, whether through vacations or time with her sons, the constant presence of photographers made it difficult to escape the spotlight. The invasive tactics of some members of the press, including aggressive car chases and the use of long lenses, created a volatile and dangerous dynamic. Diana's ability to maintain grace and composure in the face of such challenges was a testament to her resilience. Public opinion regarding the paparazzi was divided during this time. While some criticized the press for its relentless pursuit of Diana, others argued that her fame necessitated a certain level of media attention. Diana herself remained conflicted, acknowledging the role the press played in amplifying her humanitarian work while lamenting its intrusion into her personal life. This tension underscored the broader challenges faced by public figures in the age of 24/7 media coverage. As Diana navigated this paparazzi-fueled existence, she became a symbol of the complex relationship between fame and privacy. Her experiences highlighted the need for greater boundaries and ethical considerations in the pursuit of celebrity stories. Despite the pressure she faced, Diana's ability to connect with the public and use her platform for good remained undiminished, even in the face of relentless scrutiny. The impact of this period on Diana's life was profound, shaping her legacy as both a global icon and a deeply human figure. Her struggles with the paparazzi and media obsession would ultimately raise important questions about the responsibilities of the press and the rights of public figures. For Diana, the journey was one of resilience, as she continued to find strength amidst the chaos of fame. Part 13. The Final Days. Diana's Relationships and Lasting Impact. As the summer of 1997 unfolded, Diana's life was entering a period of transformation, shaped by her relationships, personal choices, and humanitarian commitments. Freed from the constraints of royal life, Diana sought a balance between her public and private worlds, carving out moments of peace while continuing her advocacy for global change. This chapter of her life, though tragically brief, would reveal her enduring humanity and deep connection to those around her. Diana's relationship with Dodi Fayed, the son of Egyptian billionaire Mohammed Al Fayed, became a focal point during her final months. The two were often seen together, their romance sparking global curiosity and media frenzy. Their relationship unfolded against the backdrop of summer holidays on luxurious yachts and travels across Europe, offering Diana a chance to relax away from the formalities of royal life. Despite the intense media attention, those close to Diana noted her happiness and sense of liberation during this time. While her romance with Dodi captivated headlines, Diana remained committed to her humanitarian work. In the weeks leading up to her untimely death, she continued her efforts to raise awareness about landmines, traveling to Bosnia as part of her campaign. Her visit to the region, marked by heartfelt interactions with survivors and communities affected by conflict, was a testament to her unwavering dedication. Diana's ability to shine a spotlight on overlooked issues made her a powerful advocate, using her platform to challenge global indifference. At the same time, Diana was fiercely protective of her role as a mother to Prince William and Prince Harry. Her sons remained central to her life, and she prioritized spending quality time with them despite her busy schedule. Diana's bond with her boys was a source of strength, with her nurturing presence helping them navigate the complexities of their unique upbringing. Her desire to shield them from the harsher aspects of public life reflected her deep commitment to their well-being. The final days of Diana's life were marked by a bittersweet mix of tranquility and chaos. On one hand, she seemed to be finding a sense of purpose and happiness in her personal and professional endeavors. On the other hand, the relentless attention of the paparazzi created a constant undercurrent of tension. Diana's attempts to lead a private life often clashed with the public's insatiable curiosity, resulting in a dynamic that was both exhilarating and exhausting. Diana's relationship with the media was particularly fraught during this time. The press's fascination with her romantic life reached fever pitch, with photographers and tabloids vying for exclusive stories and images. This obsession contributed to the sense of unease that accompanied her movements, as she sought refuge from the spotlight while remaining true to her public commitments. Her ability to maintain grace amidst such scrutiny was a reflection of her inner strength, even as the pressures took a toll on her spirit. As Diana spent time with Dodi in Paris at the end of August 1997, she remained unaware of the tragedy that would soon unfold. The city, known for its romance and allure, became the backdrop for her final moments, a poignant reminder of the unpredictability of life. The events leading up to her death were marked by a chaotic interplay of privacy, media intrusion, and fleeting moments of joy. These contrasts encapsulated the complexities of Diana's existence as she navigated the intersection of fame and humanity. The legacy of Diana's final days extends beyond the circumstances of her passing. Her ability to connect with people, her tireless advocacy, and her dedication to her sons left an indelible mark on those who knew her and admired her from afar. Diana's life and choices during this period underscore her resilience, courage, and unwavering commitment to making a difference. Her journey, though tragically cut short, was a testament to the transformative power of compassion and authenticity. In reflecting on her final days, one cannot help but recognize the profound impact Diana had on the world. She was more than a princess. She was a symbol of hope, empathy, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. Her final chapter, though marked by sorrow, remains a powerful reminder of the legacy she left behind, inspiring generations to come. Part 14. Tragedy in Paris. The untimely death of a princess. The night of August 31st, 1997, is etched in history as the moment the world lost Diana, Princess of Wales. It began like many others, with Diana navigating her dual existence as a public figure and a woman yearning for privacy. She and Dodi Fayed had spent the day in Paris, a city synonymous with romance but destined to become the backdrop for unimaginable tragedy. Despite the chaos surrounding her life, Diana sought fleeting moments of peace and joy, unaware that this night would mark her final journey. The evening unfolded at the Ritz Hotel, owned by Dodi's father, Mohammed Al Fayed. As Diana and Dodi dined in a private suite, a growing crowd of paparazzi waited outside, determined to capture the couple's every move. Their presence was an unrelenting reminder of the cost of fame, a shadow that followed Diana wherever she went. Aware of the frenzy, the couple devised a plan to leave the hotel discreetly, hoping to evade the photographers and reclaim a sliver of normalcy. Shortly after midnight, Diana and Dodi exited the Ritz through the back door, accompanied by their driver, Henri Paul, and bodyguard, Trevor Rees-Jones. They entered a black Mercedes-Benz, a vehicle that would soon become infamous. Henri Paul, tasked with evading the paparazzi, drove at high speed through the streets of Paris. The photographers, undeterred, pursued the car, their relentless chase creating a dangerous and volatile situation. As the car approached the Pont El Alma tunnel, the events took a devastating turn. Traveling at high speed, the Mercedes collided with a concrete pillar inside the tunnel. The crash was catastrophic, and the aftermath was a scene of chaos and heartbreak. Dodi Fayed and Henri Paul were pronounced dead at the scene, while Diana and Trevor Rees-Jones were critically injured. Emergency responders arrived swiftly, working tirelessly to save Diana's life as the world slept, unaware of the tragedy unfolding in Paris. Diana was rushed to the Pitié-Salpêtrière hospital, where doctors fought to stabilize her. Despite their efforts, her injuries were too severe. In the early hours of the morning, at just 36 years old, Diana succumbed to her injuries, leaving a void that would be felt around the globe. The official announcement of her death sent shockwaves through the world, as millions struggled to comprehend the loss of someone who had become a beacon of hope and compassion. The role of the paparazzi in the crash sparked immediate outrage and debate. While some blamed the photographers for their relentless pursuit, others questioned the decisions made that night, including the speed of the vehicle and the condition of the driver. Henri Paul was later found to have been under the influence of alcohol, adding another layer of complexity to the tragedy. The incident became a watershed moment, forcing the public, the press, and the monarchy to confront the destructive consequences of unchecked media intrusion. The reaction to Diana's death was unprecedented, with an outpouring of grief that transcended borders, cultures, and generations. In the days following her passing, mourners gathered outside Kensington Palace, leaving flowers, letters, and tributes that stretched as far as the eye could see. The sheer scale of the morning reflected Diana's unique ability to connect with people from all walks of life. She was not just a royal, but a symbol of compassion, resilience, and humanity. Her funeral, held on September 6, 1997, was watched by an estimated 2.5 billion people worldwide. The solemn procession, with her sons William and Harry walking behind her coffin, was a poignant reminder of the personal loss behind a public spectacle. Tributes poured in from world leaders, celebrities, and ordinary people whose lives Diana had touched. Elton John's performance of Candle in the Wind, rewritten in her honor, became an enduring anthem of her legacy. The tragedy also brought about changes in how the media and public approached fame. Diana's death highlighted the need for greater privacy and respect for those in the spotlight, sparking calls for more ethical journalism and accountability. While the reforms that followed were imperfect, the events of that night served as a stark reminder of the human cost of relentless scrutiny. Diana's untimely death marked the end of an era, but also solidified her legacy. Her life, though tragically cut short, became a testament to the power of empathy and enduring impact of one woman's determination to make a difference. As the world mourned, it also reflected on the lessons of her journey, finding inspiration in her courage, kindness, and humanity. Part 15. Legacy of Compassion. Diana's enduring influence on royal life. Diana, Princess of Wales, left an indelible legacy that continues to shape the British monarchy and the world at large. Her life, filled with triumphs and tribulations, became a testament to the transformative power of compassion and authenticity. Though she is no longer with us, Diana's influence can be seen in the modern royal family, global humanitarian efforts, and the countless lives she touched with her kindness. One of Diana's most significant contributions was her ability to humanize the royal family. In a world where monarchy was often associated with distance and formality, Diana brought a sense of warmth and accessibility that resonated with people across the globe. She redefined what it meant to be royal, emphasizing empathy and service over tradition and hierarchy. Her approach paved the way for a more relatable and modern monarchy, inspiring future generations to prioritize connection over ceremony. Diana's influence is perhaps most evident in her sons, Prince William and Prince Harry. Raised under her nurturing guidance, both princes have carried forward her values, championing causes that reflect her spirit of compassion. William's dedication to mental health awareness and Harry's advocacy for wounded veterans and sustainable development echo Diana's commitment to using her platform for meaningful change. The warmth and openness with which they interact with the public are a direct reflection of their mother's legacy. Her humanitarian work also left a lasting impact on global advocacy efforts. Diana's campaigns, from her groundbreaking work with HIV/AIDS patients to her fight against landmines, broke stigmas and brought attention to critical issues. These initiatives not only saved lives, but also inspired countless organizations and individuals to take action. The ripple effects of her efforts can still be felt today, as her work continues to inform and inspire global humanitarian strategies. Diana's legacy extends beyond her public persona to the way she connected with people on an individual level. Her ability to see the humanity in everyone, regardless of their circumstances, set her apart. Whether she was comforting a child in a hospital or shaking hands with someone in need, Diana's genuine empathy made her a beacon of hope. This personal touch remains one of the most cherished aspects of her legacy, reminding the world of the power of small, meaningful gestures. The media's role in shaping Diana's story is another aspect of her enduring influence. While the relentless scrutiny she faced highlighted the dangers of celebrity culture, her ability to use the media for good demonstrated her resilience and savvy. Diana harnessed the press to amplify her causes, ensuring that critical issues received the attention they deserved. Her relationship with the media serves as a complex but important chapter in her legacy, offering lessons on the responsibilities of both public figures and the press. Diana's enduring influence is also reflected in the evolution of the royal family's approach to public life. The House of Windsor has become more engaged with contemporary issues, embracing causes that reflect Diana's priorities. Initiatives focusing on mental health, the environment, and inclusivity show how the monarchy has adapted to reflect the values she championed. In many ways, Diana's vision of a compassionate and accessible royal family has become a guiding principle for the institution. As time passes, Diana's legacy continues to evolve, inspiring new generations to carry forward her ideals. Her story remains a poignant reminder of the potential for individuals to create lasting change, even in the face of immense challenges. From her groundbreaking advocacy to her role as a devoted mother, Diana's life was a testament to the enduring power of love, empathy, and courage. The world remembers Diana not only for her iconic beauty and grace, but for the depth of her humanity. She was a woman who faced extraordinary circumstances with resilience and heart, transforming her struggles into a force for good. Her legacy lives on, not just in the actions of her family and the institutions she influenced, but in the hearts of those she inspired to be kinder, braver, and more compassionate. In celebrating Diana's life, we honor a legacy that transcends time and borders. Her story reminds us that true greatness lies not in titles or wealth, but in the impact we have on others. Diana's enduring influence ensures that her spirit of compassion and courage will continue to inspire generations to come. Thanks for tuning in to Historical Legacies. If you enjoyed this dive into history, please like, subscribe, and share. Join us next time for more fascinating stories from the past.